share with you. I've been to Deal, and that's the little seaside town on the Kent coast. And I've been there quite frequently, and you may well have seen, if you're in my Facebook group, that I went to the Deal Flea, the first Deal Flea ever held, a few weeks ago. So there's lots of photographs on my Facebook group. And I've also been back quite recently for the Deal Braderie, which takes place once a year. So would you like to see what I bought from the Deal Braderie? So I think braderie is just the French word for flea market. And it was a lovely flea market. And I would say, though, that the prices were a bit steep. You've got to remember, if it's a braderie, a flea market, the prices are going to be slightly higher than if you're going to a car boot fair. So I think most things, when you asked the price, it was £5. So it took quite a while before we made our first purchases. But this is what I found. First of all, 2 little bowls. Do you think these are berry bowls? They're made by Spode, and they're in the Italianate pattern. So I've got a growing collection of these. Most of them I found in a charity shop, and I can remember I went to Lymington in the New Forest a few years ago. So if you look back on my playlist for my thrift hauls, you will see a pair of bowls I bought there, more like serving bowls, which I think were £5 each. But these here, I did manage to get a bargain. It was 2 for £5. Was it 2 for £3? I can't quite remember. I think this actually might have been 2 for £3. So a lovely little set, well, a lovely pair of Spode bowls. So I shall be washing those up and putting those to one side. So the bowls I've got at the moment, I've got the big ones, I've got some apples I've been given, and I've got a little bowl as well that normally has our tomatoes in, because I really love the colour of the red tomatoes against the blue of the Spode. Next up, 3 for £1. Now, so the charity shops have taken the opportunity of opening on Sunday for the braderie, and the lady outside the charity shop said they had found a whole bowl, or there must have been hundreds of these cottons, and they were selling these for 3 for £1. So I did manage to find some bargains. So it's best cotton, 500 yards for sewing. I'm actually going to use these for a craft project. So I'm going away with friends on our regular caravan trip shortly, and we like to go away and visit charity shops in the day and do crafting by night. And if you want to catch up with those adventures, do make sure you join my free Facebook group, Flower Start World. You can either search for it or click the link, which is in the description underneath this video. So I quite like these. The colour's quite unusual. It's sort of, you might think it's brown, but it's got more of a sort of pinky undertones. So you'll have to wait and see what I do with those. Now, also, I did manage to find another bargain, and these were these little stamps for printing with. So again, I managed to get these 3 for £1. The little butterfly has been used before. Some blue ink there. So this reminds me that I need to dig out my inks that I've got. I've bought some of the Iron Orchid Designs print sets a few years ago, I think probably during lockdown, and I have got some inks from there. So again, if you want to have a look at some of my crafting projects, I think there's a playlist called Trash to Treasure. So it might be worth having a look at those. So the butterfly's been used, this little garland leaf bit being used, but that little topiary tree has yet to be used. And then I'm going to show you this bit in a little while later. So I think probably this was the first thing I bought. Can you guess what that is? Do you recognise the pattern? If you've been following along with my videos, and particularly my thrift hauls for a while, You might recognise this pattern. I bought some similar crockery actually from a friend at the Faversham Safari a couple of years ago now, and I'm pretty sure I did a haul video about that too. This pattern is called Spanish Garden. So I was quite pleased to find this. It's by a design by Midwinter. Again, I need to wash it up, but it's a little lidded container. So of this set I did go crazy and I bought a teapot a couple of years ago, a teapot, a sugar bowl, a milk jug, and then I went back to my friend's house and I got 4 dinner plates, 4 breakfast bowls and 2 cups and saucers. I've changed my mind about the cups and saucers. I don't think I'm actually going to use them, so I sold those on my vintage store. So that will be a nice little addition to my 70s themed crockery. And then I bought, I think this is probably one of the most exciting things, just before we were about to go home, because the Braderie they closed off part of the street, up the high street, and the store holders were there, but other people in the town were taking advantage of the Braderie being on, and they'd opened their front gardens to sell things, and there's a sign that said yard sale. So we went down there, and I've managed to find myself some of the Mason's Denmark pattern. So this is very similar to the other Denmark I've got. I think I've got a Johnson Brothers one. I quite like this. It's quite a larger teacup with its saucer. So the Danish teacup and saucer was £3. So the saucer is here. And do you remember, those of you who've previously been members of my group here on YouTube will remember that I have flicked through the book with you from the Copenhagen pottery, and it had all sorts of details about this being one of the first designs. It's not, obviously this isn't from the Copenhagen pottery, it's just a mimic of that Denmark pattern. So I quite like that, and I do like, especially in the winter months when it's all looking dark and dreary outside, to actually have my first cup of tea of the day in a proper teacup and saucer. The only downside with that is that the surface area of the top of the cup is quite large in relation to the volume, so it does mean your tea does cool down very quickly. And then this is the tea plate that goes with it, and this was £2, also by Mason's. So I'm just adding a few more bits and pieces to my crockery collection. And over here is another plate that I've already bought. I've had 2 of these plates, and I bought those from Car Boot Fair for, I think I've got 2 of them for £1 or £2. I didn't realise that one's also Mason's as well. So you can see I've got a little growing collection. I've got 2 of these plates. So the cup and saucer, the tea plate, and I think I have got another cup and saucer, but that is slightly smaller. And the reason why I dug that plate out is because when I was in Rochester, and again, you'll know all about those adventures if you are a member of my Facebook group, I went to Rochester with friends this time last week, and we went to Restoration House, which is an absolutely beautiful historic property, and was the inspiration for, I think, Miss Havisham's house in Charles Dickens' novel. And the gardens were beautiful, 2 acres of gardens in the middle of the city centre. And the house itself was, just absolutely stunning, full of antiques, and it was just wonderful to look at. So you will have to check out those photographs in my Facebook group. But whenever I go to Rochester, I always visit the cathedral because there's quite often exhibitions in the nave. And I also always go to Baggins Book Bazaar, which the sign, if you ever pass through Rochester on the train, there's a huge sign you can see from the railway line that says, is it England's biggest second-hand bookshop, or perhaps it's only Kent's biggest, but it's absolutely amazing. And I always walk to the back of the shop to find the flower arranging books. And this time, near the decorating books, I found this, A Passion for China. And that really spoke to me. So I paid, quite a lot, but it's not, £6.50. So it was cheaper than the cover price, which is $14.99. But it's, not the bargains I'm used to, the car boots and the charity shops, but it was just this crockery that caught my eye. A beautiful inside cover here, and this also, can you see the same pattern, that Denmark pattern? But this is a really, really interesting book, written by an American lady, and she talks about the crockery in her grandmother's house and all the memories it's brought back. And she is an artist herself, and she has replicated some of the patterns that her grandmother had in her, the pieces that bring back memories for her. And then she delved into a little bit about the history of making, what she'd learned from museums. And what struck me was that, as you can see with my own little Denmark collections, I have got some of the same pieces of crockery. So here we have the Asiatic pheasant pattern. Mine plates are from Burley, but this one is Crown Ducal. And this is what grabbed my attention, the Burley Calico Blue. And I did visit the Burley pottery probably 2, if not 3 years ago now, and there is a video of that. And I went to the Wedgwood factory at the same time. So if you're interested in pottery, you ought to go and have a look at those 2 videos. But I bought this from the seconds from the Burley pottery, and I think I bought this online afterwards. I actually bought a little Asiatic pheasant milk jug, which cost me in the factory shop, it must have been £25. It was tiny. And then when I went to the Deal Flea last month, I bought myself another Asiatic pottery piece, which the seller told me for £4. It was a jug, and the seller told me that it was originally produced for Habitat. And I thought, is he right? Because it seemed more Laura Ashley to me than Habitat. Quite flowing lines and not the sleek looks of Habitat. But when I look here, it says this pattern was first sold in America, but was so popular it was soon distributed more widely, including Habitat in the UK. So he wasn't wrong. So it's just like, I really love all these connections that you start to make. It was Royal Copenhagen, the book I was trying to tell you about before, and that was the #1 pattern, which is this. So you can see here how the masons have taken the inspiration from that to create this. I'm guessing these patterns, is that to avoid the copyright, or are they not copyrighted? If you know about that, do let me know in the comments, because it seemed that once you've got these popular patterns, you think about willow pattern, Asiatic pheasant, this Denmark look, that once it's popular, all the other potteries take their spin on it. So this book is absolutely glorious, and I have read it already from cover to cover. And in fact, it's quite a good companion piece to the book that I bought when I was up in Manchester, when I went to the charity shops there, which is called the book about glassware. I think I flicked through the pages with you a couple of weeks ago. So I thought you would just like to see what my latest treasures are. Now, if I can find this book online, I'll leave a link to it in the description underneath the video. And you can have a look at it. And the reason I've got this plate here, I've been searching for this plate. I've been meaning to make this video for a while. This plate, I've got 4 of them. We use them for pasta and salads, so quite a shallow bowl. It's come from IKEA. And this was one of my finds when I went to the charity shops on the Isle of Sheppey. And I just thought one of these pictures, I don't know where it is now, I should have put a bookmark in, just reminded me of the essence of that picture there. Perhaps it was me thinking about the Denmark pattern. Can you see perhaps where there's some influences going on there? Anyway, just a quick video today. Oh, I've got some more things to show you actually, because as well as the Braderie and the Rochester secondhand book place, I did go to a couple of other places when I was in Deal. So the charity shops were open as well, and we discovered a vintage market that we'd never seen before. And one of the things I bought in one of the charity shops, they are a supplier of the French chic paints. So these are chalk paints, 11.95. There was no charity shop discount there, but I've got a project in mind, something I'm doing in my living room. I have got a pair of bobbin lamps that I've painted red, the balls going down on the lamp stand, and I've bought myself some plain white lampshades, and I'm going to paint in blue stripes on the lampshade, and I'm just trying to work out how to do that and whether I'm going to be brave enough to take, a perfectly white lampshade that I pay good money for and then customise it. So I'll have to report back on that. And then in the charity shop, I bought one of these frames. It's a picture frame with a stand. So the stand comes out like that, so it's freestanding. And it's one of these ones where it's double-sided. And I'm hoping that if I've just thought, I think there's something missing from here. I had originally thought when I got this that it was one of those frames where it was two pieces of glass so you could sandwich something in between. So I was going to put in, I'm going to have to get my kitchen scissors out. I was going to get some pressed flowers and put them in the picture frame. And now I'm thinking it's not two pieces of glass and it hasn't got that board at the back, but I think it is complete. There's this, can you see that little sort of spring there? I think that will hold the glass in place. Or I could just put a picture in it. So I picked this up from one of the stalls in the Braderie, and the reason I did is because there is the time ball on Deal Seafront. I think it's supposed to, the ball rises up and I think it's supposed to drop down, I don't know, at midday or something like that. So I need to have a look at that, and I think it's some sort of museum. Perhaps I should have to go back and one day do the touristy things in Deal rather than just hitting the charity shops. And then in the vintage flea market we went to, there was an upholsterer, and I'm just finding it quite difficult to find out an upholsterer lately, so I've got that card too. But in the little vintage market, I've picked up these Christmas mugs. I am absolutely addicted to Christmas mugs. These were £4. Again, these are from Habitat, but they will have come, I imagine, from Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's quite often has concessions inside. It's got Habitat, and it's where you can pick up your Argos shopping as well. So it says made in China for Habitat Argos. So all these stores are interconnected. But I quite like the fact that it's a Christmassy mug. It cost me £4. I liked it so much that I bought a pair. And I think they look Christmassy without looking too much Christmas Day-ish, especially with that Christmas tree that's inverted. And I shall, once I've washed them up, I might put them in the mug cupboard to start using now, and then I can have this gentle movement into the festive period. And that just means it's a way of looking forward to Christmas, the excitement of what's going to happen. But as the nights and the mornings draw in, as I say, I do like to have a cup of, a purposeful cup of tea in my new teacup and saucer, light a candle, and just welcome in the warmth of the winter months. So that really is now all from me. And so I'll catch up with you another time. My next video, if you have a look out for it, I've bought a copy of the Christmas Country Living magazine. So I'm going to have a look at that at the weekend. I might put some bookmarks and tags in it, and then we can have a look through the pages together so that you too can get inspired for the upcoming festive period. Well, that really is all for me for now, and I'll see you again next time. I need to find my rubber gloves and put a bowl of hot soapy water on so I can wash up all my lovely finds. It's just like Christmas.